last-minute shake-up at 5:30 a.m., laundry situation not good. And when your focus is on helping your clients, it's easy to forget about yourself. But NASM knows trainers.
Morning, Ryan. It's okay.
And staying in front of the day isn't always as simple as 1, 2, 3. So when the unexpected has you pressing pause,
what's the latest on creatine?
I'm going to get back to you on that.
let NASM1 help you press play. Visit NASM.org to sign up for a membership.
You're listening to Random Fit with hosts Wendy Batts and Ken Miller, winner of a Gold Markham Award for Digital Media.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to this week's episode of Random Fit. I am Wendy Batts here with friend and co-host Ken Miller. Ken, how's it going?
I am great, Wendy. How are you?
I'm good.
Yeah.
Today, we are talking about episode 2. If you didn't get a chance to listen to episode 1, I would ask for you to go back and do that. It has been launched, and we were talking about a start, stop, and continue. The first one was on performance, and today we are going to talk about body composition. So we are going to do a 3-step guide to body composition Bliss. And then, of course, whether there's 1 and 2, there will be a 3. So we hope that you will join us in the future for that one as well. But Ken, why don't you kick us off? What is the first thing when you think about body composition, right? What are the things when we think about start? So if we're going to do start, stop, and then continue, where do you think everyone should start?
I think, well, as we talk about changing how you look physically, changing your density, the amount of body fat compared to the amount of lean body mass that you have on your person. So as far as the number one place to start, as far as what can I do today to make a change in how I look and and how you feel is looking at your food. And when we say food, we're not going to talk about carbs, proteins, and fats and different percentages, but let's start at the basics and let's focus on the whole and the unprocessed foods. I think one of the easiest places to start is, Wendy, I'm not sure what you learned in your nutrition class. I mean, one of the biggest takeaways I've taken from our guest, Kat Bearfield, who's our registered dietitian of choice here on Random Fit. But one of the biggest things I took away from my nutrition classes is to start off with the perimeter of their grocery stores, right? And what are you going to find there? You're going to find your vegetable section. You're going to find your fruits. You're going to find your dairies all around the perimeters. The processed and the packaged foods are going to be in the aisles in the middle. So start with the whole food. So when we talk about looking at ingredients, and nothing tells you what it is better than looking at the ingredient itself. So if you're getting bananas, oranges, things like that, or if you're getting the juices, see that it's not overinflated with extra preservatives or extra sugars and components like that. So keep things nice and so as far as a takeaway of going to shop around the perimeter and look at whole and unprocessed foods, the least or the less ingredients listed on a label, if it does have a label, is better. So less ingredients, the better. The longer the words or the longer the list. Yeah. I mean, dihydro.
You can't pronounce it, don't eat it.
Yeah. Yeah. I give it to my kid. Hey, read that. Can't read it? Nope. All right. Put it back.
Well, I mean, you make a really important point because, I mean, you want to think about processed foods and they tend to be calorie dense and nutrition poor. And that was kind of one of the takeaways I would always hear in our nutrition classes. It's nutrition poor. And so, for example, I mean, if I have a chance to grab a bag of chips, it's easy, it's convenient, it's there. But those are really empty calories that are not going to do anything for me. So in comparison from potato chips to a sweet potato, obviously, when you're looking at a sweet potato, it's going to be more heavier in vitamins and very mineral rich versus your potato chips. And so, I mean, it really does matter the type of food that you're eating. I mean, obviously, we want to think about protein because we need protein. It's essential for your muscle growth. And, we've heard Kat say this multiple times. I mean, ideally, if you're looking just at percentages, you want 0.8 to possibly 1 gram of protein per body pound. So it seems like a lot, and it is a lot. However, you're going to notice you're going to feel better. You're going to move better. You're going to be fuller longer when you eat something that you're measuring out and you're looking at. And I think that's the biggest thing too, is like with every meal, look at what are you eating, and is it higher in fat? Is it higher in protein? Is it higher, in fiber? Because you want to have a really good balance between it all.
Yeah. And what you just said there, Wendy, with that last point of fiber, one of the things that can help you feel satisfied and kind of temper the hunger cravings a little bit longer. So, Wendy, I know you get it. You have an early morning and you have long days, as do I. And if I know that I'm not going to be able to eat after 4 clients consecutively, and that's 4 or 5 hours before I can have something of substance, I'm going to front load my day with a little bit of fiber, right? And I'm, again, back to the whole foods again, the apples, and you mentioned potatoes, some starch in there, but I'll also sprinkle into that. You mentioned Greek yogurt. I'll put some flaxseed in there. I'll put some chia seeds in there, something to help keep me satisfied. For one, it adds volume, right? So when you're going through the digestive process, this will expand and give you that sense of being full. And because it's got some stay power, then, it's going to be a little bit longer before I feel like I'm getting hangry, is what I tell my kids. Yeah, I don't want to get hangry, because when my blood sugar starts to drop and I start getting hungry, I'm not thinking as well. And if I've got a client that I'm training, I have to be there for them. I have to be fully cognizant of what I want them to do, need them to do, and thinking about them and not thinking about myself. So adding fiber, and there's plenty of ways to do that, and I mentioned a couple of them: chia seeds, more whole foods, as well as something like a sprinkle of flaxseed in there, and that's cheap and easy way to get it in there.
Mm-hmm. Well, I mean, obviously, diet is going to be crucial, especially because you want to think, okay, what if we're talking body composition? Is what do you look like? So again, what you're putting in your mouth is going to play a huge, huge role in your weight, your body fat percentages, and everything. So I always tell people, especially if we're working with bodybuilders, we're working with people that have to hit a certain percent of body fat. I mean, again, I told you guys that in some of our professional basketball players, their nutritionists actually give them a goal in the off season. So when they come into camp, they are expected to be at to me, almost too low of a body fat percentage. And that's what the expectations are. And they have to hit that. So the stress levels of making sure that that's a big thing, that I think coincides with another thing that you should start to do possibly would be to look at your calories and your macros. And the reason I say that is don't be obsessive about it. But if you can track your calories in the very beginning, then you have an idea of truly what you're eating. Because I have asked people before, tell me about, do a food log, or tell me about, what you eat. And there are those little things that you grab that you don't write down. And those calories matter, because if we are looking at calories, we're looking at different percentages. That is going to play a huge role. Now, again, not to be obsessive about it, but if you really track everything, even if you put a piece of gum, that's 10 calories, put it down, write everything down, and you look at it over a week time, you can see where some discrepancies may be and what you thought you were eating in comparison to truly what you are. And then you can cut and play or switch out certain things that may be more mineral rich, as we talked about. And like you said, maybe add some more fiber, add some more protein, and take out some of those empty calories that aren't really serving its purpose to help us hit that goal. So I always tell people too, tracking is going to be important, looking at it as a whole, but don't just track for a day or two, do it for a week or two and be true to it. And then at that point, analyze it. And then you don't have to keep tracking, because you have a better idea of what you should be eating on the daily and not having to write it down.
And that's huge. And again, you just got to get used to what your body's comfortable with. Because if I know what 8 ounces of chicken looks like, and I've weighed it and I've cooked it and I know how I feel on it. And if I am also tracking my body composition, so if I'm getting, like, say, a DEXA scan and I know where my body composition is, and I know if I've set a certain level or a certain standard of the calories I'm consuming and the makeup of those calories, then I know, okay, well, I'm actually going in the wrong direction, or I'm staying the same. Well, cut it down. And then if you look at your body composition even further, then you can say, okay, well, my body fat has gone down or my lean body mass has come up. Then you are on the right track. But that's where tracking, like you said, Wendy, looking at your calories, the percentages, but also going so far as to track your actual body composition, because that's what we're talking about right now. So if you're looking and watching and monitoring and seeing those changes happen, then make the adjustments as necessary. But tracking is just so that you know that your trajectory is pointing in the right direction, and if it's not, you need to make more changes because obviously something isn't going your way. And with that being said, we're talking about food intake, and that's about the calories in. And I think the next thing that we have to look at when it comes to what do we need to start doing is looking at our cardiorespiratory fitness and strength training. Now, Wendy, I don't know about you, but when it comes to clients and I'm taking on a new client, a lot of times it's an either or when it comes to their physical activity. It's like they're either saying, well, I'm upping my cardio, or I'm going for walks, or I'm going for runs, or they're saying, or I'm weight training and I'm picking up my dumbbells. I bought a new kettlebell set, or I bought a new weight set. So a lot of people think of physical activity or changing body composition as either I'm going to do more cardio or I'm going to do more weight training. But what we're going to talk about right now is you got to do both because both of those things matter. Both will influence how your body composition is made up, because when you talk about cardiorespiratory fitness, we're talking about the heart and lungs and actually spending calories. But when we talk about resistance training, the key here is now we are looking at building density. We're putting on lean tissue. We're actually adding to what helps you spend more calories. But overall, when it comes to the balance of getting the excess fat off and trying to build lean body mass, resistance training is an important component of changing your body composition.
Well, and that's just it. You really need to work out. We have done multiple podcasts talking about the importance of doing strength training, what it does for your bones, what it's doing for your muscles. And over time, unfortunately, we start losing that as we age. So if you start now, lifting heavy is actually okay, but think of strength training. It's, yes, it's going to increase your lean body mass. That's what we want, especially if you're thinking about it on a physique level, but it also is going to increase your basal metabolic rate. So what that means, basically at rest, you're burning more calories. It's kind of like the afterburn when they talk about the EPOC. You want to be able to burn calories even when you're not doing anything. And then when you think of cardio, the cardio is going to help create that calorie deficit as well. So you want to be able to find that balance between both. And so to your point, I have a client that's like, she only does cardio because she was scared she was going to get big and she wasn't going to be able to fit in her skinny jeans. And some of this now is changing as more and more information is coming out onto the mainstream. And I don't know if that's because of Instagram or Facebook, or people are actually picking up books and reading it, but there really needs to be a combination of both. Like you said, we need to think about the organs and what we're doing on the daily and looking at it on an endurance side, but doing the HIIT workouts. If you did HIIT every day, you were going to end up hurting yourself. You can't truly do a full true HIIT workout every day without having something give. So you want to find that equal balance, and progressive overload, which is what the NASM OPT model is where you're looking at foundational movement patterns first and then building strength upon that and then working on power and combining that with different types. Even on your off days, maybe it's going for a walk. It doesn't have to be going for a sprint. You're going to start to see physique changes as long as you're moving. And so it's just moving at a pace that's different from what you're doing right now in order to see change, especially if your nutrition is balanced.
Yeah. Couldn't have said it better myself.
So what should you stop, Ken? We talked about the starting, so nutrition, cardio, strength. What are we stopping?
Yeah, well, going back to the nutrition side, the one thing we need to stop is crash dieting, and it comes in the shape, well, in different forms. When we talk about crash dieting, this is when people are they're cutting out sugars, they're stopping this, they're stopping that, they're eliminating, or elimination diet, right? They're just taking things out of their pantry. I mean, how many clients, Wendy, do you have that come the new year, they're just going in their fridge, they're going in their pantry and just throwing away unopened boxes of something because of an ingredient or a component, right?
Oh, yes.
I'm like, you're like, give it to me. Don't throw it away. I mean, it's one thing to clean your stuff out of, clean your fridge of rotten stuff or old food, but when you talk about crash dieting and what it actually does to you, people will like eliminate something because it has a bad ingredient or too much sugar, too much this, too much that. And what that'll do is it just leads to cravings and what we also call yo-yo dieting, right? So your body composition will take these drastic turns, and your body has instincts. Your body has only one goal, and that's to keep you alive. So when we talk about yo-yo, the yo-yo goes down and it goes up. So when it comes to your body weight, right? Body composition aside, body weight, you stop eating something, you'll maybe lose, let's say, 30 pounds. But out of that 30 pounds, let's just say without proper nutrition intake with protein, carbs, and fat, without exercise, a lot of that's going to be based on muscle, because muscle is what costs your body a lot of energy. Your body will spend a lot of energy just to keep muscle. But if there is a calorie deficit to where your body's saying, okay, well, I'm going to use fat, definitely, because that's why we have fat, is to take us through those times when we don't have food to eat. But it's also going to take away what it is that's driving that hunger, which is lean tissue. And then when you bring something back into your diet, onto your plate, guess what's going to happen? You're not only going to put back that 30 pounds on, but you're also going to put on more than that. And that's the rebound effect. So that yo-yo down and up. And at the end of it all, you're in a worse position because you lost, let's say, 15 pounds of fat and 15 pounds of muscle. Now you've just put on 30 pounds of fat. So because 30 pounds plus. So when we talk about what that does for you and your body weight, avoid the crash diets because of what it does to you metabolically. And you just talked about that metabolic rate effect of what it can do, what can happen to it when you do weight train and you resist and do your cardio.
Well, and I think sometimes we get lost with understanding that if you're lifting heavy, you're actually burning a lot of calories. Your body's having to work harder. You're putting it under stress that it's not normally under. So when you do that and you start changing and you're doing something different, that's why we always talk about switching up your exercises and making sure that you're not always doing the same thing over and over again, because your body starts to adapt to whatever it is that you're doing. If you're doing the same exercises and the same weight and you notice you haven't changed, well, it's because you haven't put anything to make it change onto the platform for you to see success. So I think, when you're talking about this crash diet and yo-yoing one thing that I really stress to my clients, and the one thing that kind of really worked for my family, was if you really want it, have it, but have it realistically be something like a bite or two. If you really want, I love sweets, and I openly admit it. I think sweets are like, it's my downfall. And if there's something there and I keep telling myself, well, I can't have that, well, then it makes me want to have it more. And then I obsess on the fact that I can't have that. Versus if I just took a bite or two, I feel that sensation of, oh, okay, I had my sweet and I moved on. If I don't do that and I go home and I keep thinking, oh, if I would have just taken a bite of that cake because it looked so good, I keep thinking about the cake. And guess what ends up happening? I end up going and buying a full piece of cake and eating the whole thing and feeling miserable afterwards. And so I tell people, don't deprive yourself. If you really want a piece of pizza, have a piece of pizza. Just make it a smaller piece. If you're used to eating 3, eat half of one, and you served its purpose, but yet you're still not getting off track of what you should be doing. And I think that's kind of the biggest thing, is don't deprive yourself. Just be smart in what you're doing. And, if you want something, eat it. Just don't eat a lot of it. That's the biggest thing, I think.
Yeah, yeah. You can have it. Just get a taste. Sounds like what you're saying, Wendy. And this is what I tell my kids, like, because my son has a sweet tooth, right? He's one of those that'll he'll take a cupcake and he'll eat the icing,
Oh, my
right?
son.
And then and then a little bit of the cupcake, and then here I am. I've got the cupcake. So I'm just like, all right, we got to manage this. Like, you can have it, but don't just eat icing, right? And then now I'm in a position where I have this cupcake in my hand. What am I gonna do? Just throw it away? Yeah. So
Well, no, you don't want to waste food, right? You have a bite, you give your wife a bite, you give your daughter a bite, and then the
yeah,
cupcake. So there
yeah.
you
I
go.
mean, there's times where I take a bite and I put the rest of it away and I leave it there, and it does go to waste. But
Well, and I want to say another thing that I would love for people to stop really obsessing over, and it kind of goes back to what we talked about with starting, is cardio.
yeah,
I have, unfortunately, I have this more on the female side than I do my males, usually because my males actually never want to do cardio. But you have a lot of these individuals, and again, it's not one gender over another. This is just my experience with my clientele. But I have these individuals that come in and they don't lift, but they do cardio all the time, all
mm-hmm,
the time.
yeah,
But then they also, something you probably heard this, Ken, or maybe you've even said it, but then we'd start talking about individuals that are skinny fat, meaning that they're skinny. They look really good in certain clothes, but they don't have like the muscle. Uh,
yeah,
they just kind of look like bone and skin. And so we sometimes will call those, our cardio lovers. And so when I actually sit down and I have a talk with them, I have to really emphasize the excessive cardio. Again, you want to have a balance between strength and training. Cardio is extremely important, especially when you're looking at the calorie deficit. So I'm not saying don't do cardio, but if that's all you're doing and you're obsessive over it and you're doing it for long periods of time and you're doing the same thing, that can actually lead to muscle breakdown and hinder your muscle growth over time. So that's why that balance is super, super important. So if you're just doing cardio and that's all you do, I would ask for you to please stop doing that and find a balance between both. And you're going to see that on a composition side, you're going to look better, you're going to feel better, and you're going to have more endurance to do things because you're stronger.
yeah. And that's, I mean, everything in moderation, right? Even with cardio, because I mean, the other part of it, Wendy, is that when I've had clients, and part of it too is that they're getting efficient at running. Right. So not only is it like they feel like they need to do more running just as a modality, but it's also they get better at it. Right. So they become essentially marathon runners. And I'm thinking of a client right now, and she would go faster. She would go longer on her cardio because what she was doing was getting easier for her to do. So that's the other part of it. It's like she got really good at running, and kind of like what you touched on there. It's like the overuse patterning of a certain modality, because once they like it, we tell people, once you find something, go with it, right? It's not miserable for you, and just do it. But again, that can go a little too far when it comes to doing a lot of cardio. So before we go on to the next point, Wendy, I do want to mention that this episode of Random Fit is brought to you by NASM One, the membership for trainers and coaches. Members enjoy unlimited access to hundreds of career resources. Get the Edge app to schedule and program clients. Enjoy half off all certifications and specializations. Access free CEUs and more. All this for just $35 a month. Go to nasm.org/membership to learn more about NASM One. So, Wendy, when it comes to cardio, I think, more is not better, right?
Not always.
Not always.
Balance.
Yeah.
Mr. Miyagi said it best. Balance. And if you don't know who Mr. Miyagi is, then that just shows my age. And yes, they're now coming out with a Karate Kid versus Kung Fu. I don't know if you saw that, but anyway,
I've seen.
I digress.
Yeah.
Another thing I think people should stop, and this is myself, is working, being busy all the time, not making time for yourself, not getting to bed on time because of what happens on the sleep deprivation and what it can do to our hunger signals and making us feel like we need to eat at random times a day because you think you're hungry when you should be fast asleep. And Ken, I am the worst. And you know this, I'm really working on it because I wait for my son to go to bed. I wait for my husband to go to bed, and I'm frantically cleaning the house or doing something or trying to get caught up with the day because I've worked so much that I feel really far behind in things that I need to do on the day to day. And I think it's okay to be behind. It's okay to put stuff down because you really need 7 to 9 hours of sleep really for your body to be able to heal itself, especially if we're actually working out and doing the cardio, we're finding balance and we're changing ourselves. If we're eating better and we're moving better and we're doing things on that end, if you don't get the right recovery and rest, then that's a big, big problem. And we talked about that. I know a lot in performance, so I'm not going to beat a dead horse, but I have to say that because, and Ken, when you talked about the hormones and the regulation part, I mean, you said it really well in episode 1. I mean, if you want to kind of give a recap in case someone hasn't listened to that.
Yeah. And I'll be the first to kind of support that because I mean, personally, I know that when I'm getting my, let's say 5.5 hours of sleep versus 7+ hours of sleep, it definitely takes a toll on how I feel in the day, hunger wise. So what you're talking about there, Wendy, is the effect of sleep and two of the hormones that affect hunger. One is ghrelin and the other one is leptin. Ghrelin is the hormone that makes you feel hungry, right? It gives you that feeling of, okay, well, it's time to eat. And leptin is the hormone that tells you when you're satisfied and when you're full. So when you don't get enough sleep, what happens is that you have more ghrelin, right? And you have less leptin. And what that ultimately means is that now I am hungry, right? I am more hungry and I am less satisfied. So I go throughout the day feeling like I need to eat. And basically, I'm just a bottomless pit and I just can't get enough. So when you are depriving yourself of sleep, again, you mentioned the 7 to 9 hours, everybody's I mean, it's an individual thing, but just be careful. I mean, you do get used to, and this is something that I learned from myself, is that I got used to sleeping off of 4 hours, 5 hours sleep, especially when I was a strength conditioning coach, when I had a team that I had to work with at 6 in the morning, and then I had a team that I had to work with at 6 o'clock at night, and I wasn't coming home in between. So then I come home, then I have all my stuff to do, personal stuff, my home stuff, plus the commute. And, you know, there were times where I'd sleep 4 hours a night, and that would really take a toll as far as how I felt and how hungry I was. And needless to say, if I'm thinking about food, I'm not thinking about my athletes, right? Or when I have a chance to eat, then I'm a bottomless pit, and I overindulge. You know, and again, if I wasn't working out, then that was working against me body composition wise. So sleep will determine a lot as far as the effects of how hungry you feel and how satisfied you get once you have had a chance to eat. So get your sleep, because that's going to affect, you know, what it is that drives us to eat to begin with.
Yes, for sure. And those of you guys that are joining myself, Wendy Batts, and Ken Miller on Random Fit today, we are talking about episode part 2, if you will, of the 3-step guide. This one's specifically on body composition bliss, if you will. So we talked about, what do you need to start? You need to really think about going to the grocery store, going in the perimeter, picking really good foods that are vitamin heavy and mineral dense, and making sure that you're not just grabbing something on the go, that you're actually trying to plan on what you're doing. Look at tracking into your calories. We talked about the importance of that, obviously working on a balance between cardio and strength. Then we talked about what you should stop doing, which is stop saying that you can't get enough sleep, because again, we just talked about that. Also to just doing one over the other when you're looking at cardio in relation to should you be incorporating strength. Cardio will obviously help you lose or burn more calories throughout the day, but what are we trying to do here? Hopefully, if you want to see muscle, you got to build muscle, right? So they talked about that. But I think the last step that we want to talk about is what are we going to continue doing? If you are going to the gym, first of all, you need to give yourself a pat on the back because it's easy to drop off. Everyone starts in January, they're gung-ho, you've got this going on, or you leave the gym come February because you're just burnt out. You went out, it wasn't realistic to your schedule. Then it's like, oh, spring break's coming. And then you go back in March and then now spring break's over and then you're going to give it a rest. But then, summer's right around the corner. So that's not something that you want to do. If you're doing that, that should also be a stop. However, if you are going and you're doing the same thing over and over again, one thing that you want to do, continue going to the gym. First and foremost, get yourself in to the gym or somewhere where you can actually do some strength training, but change it up. Make sure that you have progressive overload. I did mention this earlier. So if you are lifting the same weights, maybe go up in your weights and down in your reps. If you don't want to go up in your weight, then you want to start changing up how you're doing something. If you're always doing the leg press, then get off the leg press and maybe do some different types of lunging, doing some single leg squats, doing things that are still going to focus on your quads, but add some glute in there. If you're doing the leg press and you're really not getting full hip extension, then you're really not getting full hip glute activation. So do things that are going to change it up, because the more that you're doing that, more muscles you're working and the harder your body has to work throughout that 1 hour that you're in the gym, you might as well burn more calories and get better benefits. So your body's going to, again, it's going to start to adjust to what you're doing. And so if you switch it up, you're going to see so many, like you'll just see results quicker. That's the easiest way of putting it.
Yeah. And, here's the thing too. It also, it keeps things interesting, right? And well, when I was working in a health club before I got, my facility at training station, and, I've got my different pieces of equipment, but it keeps things interesting because I have Viper Pro, I have sandbags, I have sandbells, I have the traditional barbells, and I have dumbbells, I have suspension trainers. So I can take a push exercise. And this is for those of you that are wondering, how am I going to change things up? Well, it could be something as easy as doing, as far as consistency sake goes, you just go to the floor and do push-ups, right? You can just step away from your desk and do 20 lunges, 20 alternating lunges. But if you're in the gym in the health club setting, use the different apparatus that's around you, because that's something that I would tell all the members. If they weren't personal training with me, I would tell them as a fitness instructor, as an advocate of somebody using the whole facility, use everything in front of you. Don't use it all in one day, but go to the leg press, right? Go to the squat rack, go to the dumbbell rack, and use the different things. So as I mentioned, you can do lunges, you can do squats, but there's a machine that you can do for a certain exercise. As much as we talked about moving in free space, resistance training with selectorized equipment does have its place, and it offers an added challenge. But when you stick to that leg press or that knee extension, hamstring curl, whatever it is that you're doing, multi-hip, if that's all you're going to do, your body's going to adapt to it. Like what we just talked about with cardio, you're going to get really good at running if you spend a lot of your time on a treadmill. The same thing as if you just use that same leg press machine versus a hack squat, you're going to get really good at that leg press machine until the only way you're going to get challenged by adding more and more and more and more weight. But the negative effect of that is that now you're introducing an overuse pattern, but also the only way you're going to feel challenged is by adding more load, which your joints may or may not like that, especially if that's all you're doing. But use the whole gym. You may be able to stay at 20 pounds if you're challenging it the right way. You don't have to go from 20 to 30 to 40 to feel like you're getting a good workout anymore. So I say use the whole gym if that's what you have access to. But going back to the consistency thing, step away from the desk, do some push-ups, do some lunges, and there you can check off a box at minimum with some body weight exercises, but vary it up,
Well, we talked a lot about the neural continuum. And for those of you guys
Yeah.
that don't know what that is, you're just changing up the different demands that you're placing on it. So if you only have access to, let's say, a cable machine and you're in your apartment and that's all that they have in their little gym, and you're not going to spend crazy amount of money on some big box gym or even some boutique, that's fine. But instead of doing a 2-arm chest press, then why don't you do a 1-arm chest press one day, 2 arms one day, alternating arms another day, like a single arm with rotation, and then you can change it up. All of those have different demands within the body, still utilizing the exact same press that you're doing, but it is different. It's going to challenge your body differently. It challenges your core. It engages different core musculature when you have single versus double, whether it's single leg or single arm. So alternating, different demand, same time, different demand. And so you don't have to be all like super creative. And this is the only piece of equipment that I have. Well, then vary it up. If you're going to do the leg press, do heavy with 2 legs, do single leg, do faster reps and more of them with lighter load, do slower reps with heavier load, or whatever it is you want to do, but just change it up. And so that's the biggest thing. And I think one of the final things that because I know time is kind of playing a role here, but the one thing that I also think it's important to continue, and I don't think I can stress this enough, especially with the body composition, would be managing stress. And more and more people seem more stressed out. People are going back to work. They are leaving their homes. They're not able to work from home anymore because different people are changing that up. I've seen that in my clientele where it's like their stress levels have gone up because now they have to manage traffic and getting to work on time and being home and making sure they can pick the kids up and get them to practice. And still, what are you going to make for dinner? I mean, it's just a lot. So just remember that stress can sabotage your fitness goals. So if you have chronic stress, that can lead to high cortisol levels, which can then lead to fat storage, especially around the midsection. If that's where you store your fat, that's not healthy. And so you've got to find time for yourself. I'm working on it. Got to find time for yourself. I say this this is my motto every single day, that I have to make sure that I take care of myself first, because nobody else is going to do that. So making sure that you do yoga, you do meditation, you do something that allows you to have time to kind of get out of your own stressful mind and then come back to something that's normal for you. And then where you're able to manage life in a better capacity. Everyone around you is going to thank you for that too. But if you really want to see body composition change, stress that you have will make a huge, it can sabotage everything that you're doing.
Yeah, totally. And it's easy. And Wendy, you brought up a couple of things, right? Meditation, you brought up yoga. Stress can just be as easy, especially after, say, a very stressful a call, a meeting, conversation that you didn't like how it ended. You go outside, go for a walk. If it's a nice, bright, sunny day, get out there. Take a few deep breaths, inhale in, 4 seconds, exhale out for 5, right? Start to stimulate that parasympathetic response in the nervous system, right? That rest and digest. Get yourself to calm down a little bit. And for me, a simple walk around the block. I take my dog for a walk, but sometimes if I'm stressed out, if things are just piling up on my desk, I'll put the harness back on my dog and get the leash. And he goes, we were just out here 10 minutes ago. It's, hey, buddy, it's not for you. It's for me. I need this one right now because stress will affect cortisol. Cortisol affects melatonin. Melatonin affects sleep. So if you manage yourself during the day, your body will be able to better manage itself at night, is the way I look at it. So stress management is huge. And a lot of times we lose that perspective on what we need to do to self-care. So that was a great last point to bring up there, Wendy, as far as managing stress. Because, us here in the US, we don't do that enough.
Indeed.
Yeah. All right.
Thanks for putting this together too, because I know, again, I'm excited about part 3. So we do hope you guys come back and join us for part 3, which will be right around the corner.
All right. Perfect. So again, guys, that's part 2 of our start, stop, and continue. So if you like this, again, watch part 3. That's going to be coming up next. If you like this, like, follow, subscribe, download, share, give us a 5 out of 5. Again, download. Let us know what you want us to talk about in future episodes. So until next time, everybody, take care and be well.